What are those differences in the curling culture in Japan versus the curling culture that we're used to in North America and even in Europe?
Definitely in Japan, they teach the fundamentals basically right through. So when I was growing in Canada, kids always just wanted to play. They wanted to get out there, have fun, play some games. It wasn't until you were serious, a little more serious about the game, that you'd actually dedicate time to practice and learn how to slide straight. Whereas in Japan, they just love sliding through rocks, and they'll sit there for an entire day, basically just throwing stones without even challenging each other to a game or anything. So I guess they look at it as kind of like perfecting a craft more than maybe having fun growing up. So I think what they have is they have a lot of very young athletes that are very good technically. They have lots of good skills, and what I've been trying to do is teach them kind of to round out their game, learn how to actually take those skills and apply them to actually winning curling games, which sounds maybe easy, but it's not in some situations. So.
In what ways are the cultures similar? Because one of the things I've kind of noticed when I've researched it is you have Hokkaido, that North Island that you were talking about, and it seems like it's a farming community that has really embraced curling since about the 70s when Sapporo hosted the Olympics. In that way, is it very similar to Canada in kind of how people latch onto the sport?
It is. So actually, Hokkaido and Alberta, my home province, are sister provinces, which is actually, I guess, more specifically how I got involved. Was the two provinces had done curling exchanges in the past, so they were kind of using that partnership to bring me along. So what ended up happening is in the 80s, when they actually brought Japan to curling, it was another Albertan named Wally Ursulak who actually brought curling to Japan. So a lot of the basic curling culture is very, very similar to Alberta, where I'm from. And then obviously, he brought that kind of base culture there, and then it's kind of evolved until when I finally got there in 2013. But they've had a lot of different Canadians come through that program. So they like to do things kind of their way with a little bit of Canadian help along the way.
How has the sport grown in Japan since you've been involved in the sport there?
Since I've been there, they've opened 2 new rinks, just dedicated curling ice, which is really great to see. They have beautiful facilities there. And Sapporo, where I was living when I first moved there, the rink was 1 year old. And within 2 or 3 years, the rink basically has no free time. There's people on that ice 100% of the time. So they built a 5-sheeter there, and they probably could build 2 more 5-sheeters and fill them right now. So there's a big demand for curling in Japan, especially on the North Island, where they're very proud of their winter sports. And definitely once Team Fujisawa won the bronze at the Olympics, it's been crazy. They basically went from great curlers to celebrities overnight there. And when I'm with them in Japan, can't go more than 15 minutes without somebody coming up, recognizing them, and asking for autographs. So it's been a big change very quick in Japan, and I think that the Olympics has really shone a light on the sport there. So yeah, I think they're trying to make it so that they can get some new curlers getting into the program right now.
And it's also starting to grow in kind of the non-traditional, just like in the U.S., where we see Curling Night in America coming to Raleigh. Western Japan and those non-traditional curling areas are also starting to build rinks too, right?
They're definitely trying. Some of the southern provinces where they have no facilities have started arena curling like they do here in the States, which it's obviously not the ideal situation, but it's definitely getting people involved. Even down like Hiroshima and places like that. But the big goal is, people really want to bring a rink to Tokyo, and if they could do that, that would be, I think, the biggest step to really introduce the largest group of people to curling there. So there's been talk of it, but we'll see. Actually, they're hoping to host the Japan Championship in an arena in Tokyo, which would be a big step too. So there's definitely efforts to try and bring curling to more non-traditional areas in Japan, and I think hopefully in the next decade we'll see some of those areas get clubs.
the teams that are formed, is it in a lot of cases it's the company that they work for sponsoring them as a team, correct?
It is, yeah. So Japan, a lot of the teams have a system where a company will sponsor a team, and the athletes will be employed by that company, and they're expected to work when they're not curling, but that company will also pay for their season and allow them to travel, things like that. But the company, because they are footing the bill, does have some say in who plays to some degree. So for me as a national coach, I don't form teams or anything like that. The athletes are free to talk with their sponsors and form their own teams, and we run a national championship, and the winner of that is a national team. So it's very much kind of a Canadian style where, you form your team, and if you win, you get to go, and you get to earn your spot every year.